Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another AI in 15, where we get something done every weekday morning with AI. So by Christmas, we'll all be up to speed and able to kickstart the new year. I am your host, Matthew Kershaw, 20 years in media marketing and content, 6 years in the AI space, and I help businesses build modern production and marketing engines. And that means helping their people use AI practically and safely, as you've seen in some of these sessions, but also structure their workflows so they're not as messy, a bit more organized, and build a roadmap to better quality, speed, and reduced cost. That's me. You don't want to hear about me. You want to hear about today's session, which is AI image prompt madness. I'm going to demo kind of as many prompts I think we can get in 15 minutes. Uh, Super interesting topic, partly because they say a picture tells 1,000 words, but also it has 1,000 uses in the world we live in. And I just started to list these things. We obviously use images on our websites, in our newsletters, in our posts, in our posters. And I started listing. I was like, oh, I'm going to need more than nine. So I added a few more, and then I needed more and more and more and more. Thousands and thousands of places and ways we use images. And so obviously AI image generation has come a really, really long way. When I first got into the AI space, it was kind of weird and laughable what the images that were being produced was awful. Then we had 22, 23, there's some real leap in quality, but then we had this kind of weirdness, the kind of finger problem, which a lot of people kind of sniggered about and was, kind of a bit odd. And now with Nano Banana, and particularly the new version of it, Nano Banana Pro, people are able to create images. This guy's like put himself in a picture with Taylor Swift. It's very hard to tell. There's sometimes little giveaways, but it's very hard to tell sometimes, if this is a real image or not. So one person that's had an experience with that is Gary Kasparov. He's a chess grandmaster. He was the first chess grandmaster to be beaten by a computer, Deep Blue. And he said, at first, computers are too weak. We laugh at them. Then there's a narrow window where computers compete with humans, and then machines are far superior forever after. So that's kind of the journey we've been on, I think, with AI generated images. But his message and my message to you today is like, lean into that. Let's take advantage of that. Let's use these tools to do things and that we wouldn't have been possible before. So a couple of things just you're going to see as we go through. You'll see incredibly loose short prompts. You'll see incredibly long specific prompts. I usually try and start with short ones and kind of get more specific if I have to. But you'll see that both can be effective. You'll also see these tools are amazing at creating a diversity of stuff. They're also very good at aligning stuff around a particular look and feel. Iteration, we've talked about this a lot during this course, but going again and evolving and making your prompt better and better all the time is really important. And bringing your creativity. Really, in the end, the computer generates quite dull stuff that people have mostly seen before. If you want stuff that's really stunning and really stands out, you're going to have to bring your creativity to the table. Those are some of the themes. Let's dive in quickly. So combining images, it's very, very good at combining images. So here was a mood board that I created, kind of a weird fantasy life where I live in a Frank Lloyd Wright house and I have an E-type Jag and a llama for some reason. I've got the hat. That's about the only thing I've got. So I need to get all the other things. And the way I made this was kind of quite simple. I asked ChatGPT to identify all the images in the mood board, then I said write me a prompt to combine those elements, and then it worked. But you might be able to see here there's two pairs of shoes, two hats. So I sort of tweaked it. The image, this image, but the man is wearing the shoes and holding the hat in his hand, and that's how I got to the nice image of me with my car and my llama outside my beautiful modernist house. But also you can create poses. You can, if you're trying to sell a story, you've got you want to show a particular image or you've got an ad that needs someone to be posing in a particular kind of way, you can combine images. So put the man in the picture into a suit and put him into the pose shown. And it's just a sketch of a pose and it will generate that image. I mean, interestingly, like down to the hand pose. So, the hand specific way the fingers are is mirrored in this image. So really, really sophisticated. We saw this a little bit already in session 5 around mood boards and how you can take combine images into a kind of something that's like a mood board, or you can combine it into a realistic image depending on the prompt. So go back and have a look at session 5 if you're interested in that. Great for storytelling and bringing stories to life. The way we do that usually is with storyboards. Here's my old mum and dad, their 50th wedding anniversary, and I've said, create a six-part story. So it's create spitting out six images in one go, a black and white film noir detective story. Now, in this case, it's kind of invented each of the elements of the plot. Obviously, if you've got a specific story you're trying to tell, you could just give it the six scenes you want it to bring to life. Now, here's a really, really good hack. I call it the DOP hack. DOP is the cinematographer on a film. You take any given film, I'm into When Harry Met Sally, and I've asked it, give me the film stock lens and lighting spec for this movie, When Harry Met Sally. And you can see it's spit out this incredibly sophisticated technical detail about how that film was shot. And pretty much any famous film, you'll get a really, really good set of details like this. So I've kind of combined those two things. And what I've done is I've said it's a similar prompt, but now they're in a classic 90s rom-com set in New York, and it's generated these images, which are very, very like, the when Harry Met Sally look and feel and tone. So that's a great way to sell that story in, but also help inform your cinematographer. Here's the look and feel I'm going for. So a great creative tool as well. A lot of us are involved in products, either making new products, selling products, marketing products. You can create some amazing things with this. So this is a espresso martini, kind of pre-made espresso martini via Carota. I said 10 words, transform this image into a five-piece jewelry collection, and it did this. Just it literally was, sometimes you get lucky. It was literally one prompt and boom. And it's taken elements of the bottle and created, earrings and a necklace and it even knew that because it could see the words martini, so it's created a espresso martini themed brooch. Amazing. And this will give you inspiration to do this in real life. If you work in the PR space, you might be wanting to show your client, hey, why don't we put on an exhibition for our product? Here's how it would look in a gallery. Go really crazy. We're going to create a monument out of our product. Here's what that would look like in, downtown somewhere.
Question from Sharon.
Please.
Which AI tools are you using for these? Is it Nano Banana?
It's a bit of a mix. Right now, Nano Banana and particularly Nano Banana Pro is by far the best. A lot of these images weren't created on Nano Banana. A lot of them are created on Sora, which is another one, which is the OpenAI one. Um, but Nano Banana currently is the tip of the top. And if you've got a Google account, you get a certain amount of that for free anyway through Gemini, which is the Google chatbot, and you can go into that chatbot, but also use it to generate images. I actually have an account with a company called Higgsfield, and that allows me to use multiple different models from across the board. And as new ones develop, I can tap into them. So I pay quite a lot. I pay like £35 a month for that though. But it gives me that flexibility to switch and change. So that's something to consider. Yeah, massive long prompt for the exhibition, not such a long one for the monument. Um, Forward prompt, this bottle but empty. So you can imagine the nightmare it would be if you've got a picture of a full bottle, you need to show it empty or half empty. You're either going to have to spend a ton on retouching, or you're going to have to go back in the studio and try and somehow recreate the exact look and feel. This is four words, press a button, done. And then quite often we're trying to bring a product to life, but it just exists as a sketch. So here's the original Twitter bird icon, RIP Twitter. And I've used this to kind of then create tons of ideas to show that product in use, show it as a character figure, show it as a Lego minifigure, show it as a plushie, and even show that plushie in a one of these grab machines. I think the Americans call them UFO catchers, which is the phrase that's used here. So you can really give life to this, like the idea that this little character is now can have a real life. You can go behind the scenes. I want to see how this was made as my simple prompt generates this lovely kind of homespun idea that all these plush toys are made on someone's work table rather than in a factory, which I'm sure is the truth. What's going to go inside it. You can generate, incredible diagrams showing all the parameters, with lines on them. And this is, you know, super realistic. It would have a safety eye and it might have a sound module and weighted beads at the bottom. It's pretty smart. The other thing these tools can do is they're really good at real time and location based stuff. So, you know, in terms of weather, I generated one for Leeds. This is the Corn Exchange and the City Hall. You know, it's a few days ago when it's cold and rainy. If you're from Leeds, you'll recognize those. Obviously, the more well known the location, the better, you know, Rio de Janeiro, New York. But imagine now you can hook your website up to real-time information on API and be generating images kind of on the fly throughout the day that are giving people real-time information in visual form. Beautiful and very attractive. You can also just in terms of like telling stories. So if you tell it, show me a picture of this location at this time, it knows that that is the Notre Dame on fire. Show me a picture of this location at this time. It knows that's the Deepwater Horizon crisis. So it can also bring to life, you know, stories and events, real events. We are all involved in making presentations, and this will really help you. So particularly people hate making diagrams for PowerPoint. In this case, I've made three diagrams from existing papers. So this was end-to-end AI creative workflow in a brand context, published by Acumen in 2025. But obviously, you can just throw your own, you know, white paper document, whatever it might be, and it will generate the diagram for you. And interesting, you can see here it's in kind of in my brand colors. And the way I did literally was just say at the end of my prompt, use these brand colors, and I use the hex code, which is what computers use to denote numbers. You know, if you've got a brand document, you will have these hex codes in there somewhere. You know, how is this going to look in reality? I want it, I want to do an exhibition and I want to show it like this, but I want it to be my idea. So I've sketched it out quickly and turned it into something real. We all have to have headshots now. They're quite tricky, quite annoying. They're never quite what you want. This will give you, I mean, in this case, it's very specific kind of headshot. So this is now LinkedIn, Che, and Mona Lisa, as if they worked at a hedge fund in the Valley. But obviously, you can go back and tweak this prompt and give you, you know, the kind of image you want to have and the kind of clothes you want to be seen to be wearing. Very useful. And of course, let's not forget, have a bit of fun. This is a picture of me and my wife back in, I think, the 90s. You know, I brought it to life. I said, I want to see the behind the scenes of this photo shoot, just a way of sending it to her. It's just a little bit of fun in the middle of the day. Or last night we were at a wine tasting and quiz. One that you could get extra points for having a nice team shot. We all lined up against the wall. The guy who took the picture was an idiot. He cut off our feet. But I prompted, I said, remove the background, retain the look of the people, add feet to them, and turn it into a classic police lineup photo. You can see here the numbers aren't right. It goes, you know, 55766, doesn't know the numbers. Obviously, you can go back and reprompt and add the specificity that you want to get to for your image. It was a pub quiz night. It doesn't really matter. So finally, some seasonal stuff. This is a massive long prompt, but it takes really diverse image sets, the Mona Lisa, Sydney Sweeney, Che Guevara, different looks and feels across history, and gives them a kind of unified look and feel in this case of a kind of Christmassy one. Obviously, you can take this prompt and go, actually, I don't want it to be Christmassy. I want it to be summery. I want it to be Easter themed, you know, whatever it might be. So a really useful prompt for bringing stuff into line. And finally, here's me, big long prompt. I won't spend time on the prompt because it's the output you want. Here's me and a couple of buddies having burgers outside AI in 15 burger shop somewhere on a winter street in London. Happy Christmas, everyone. So just a couple of things to finish off. You can get better control for any of these by, as we've seen in session 7, going back and saying, put this in a JSON format. And that will give you a JSON version, which you can then tweak the very fine details of these. Very useful if you're in a kind of agency situation, and very good also for showing how things have changed over time. Loads of resources out there. Here are 3 I used. If you need a prompt, you can pretty much find it on the internet. Monday is going to be all about AI voiceover, generating voiceovers for ads in multiple languages. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you Monday. Don't forget to tell your friends. Wolf.co/sign up. That's wolf with 2 O's, .co/sign up. See you Monday. Thanks very much.
Two questions. Sorry, I'm interrupting you just before everyone leaves.
Yeah,
From Paul Thomas,
yeah,
do you find typo hallucinations are reducing?
yeah.
Okay, and then from GAM, these are brilliant. You're really opening my eyes as to what can be done. My enterprise hat, though, is concerned about the guardrails as to what should and should not be created. You used your parents in an innocent set of images, but those images can easily be made into something not so innocent.
Yeah, so I'd say don't do something that's not innocent. Don't, I mean, first of all, go back and look at the legal cases we looked at a few days ago. Have a look at that session because that'll show you some of the guardrails you should be putting around this stuff legally. But also, a pencil can be used to kill someone. John Wick killed someone with a pencil. You know, don't kill people with pencils. Likewise, don't do evil things with these tools. I mean, it's kind of simple. There's no getting around it. They're here, they exist, they're very powerful. They can be used for ill and they can be used for good. Please use them for good. See you Monday. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.